Warning. I chain smoke and I say fuck a lot. But I accept myself for the way I am. I accept you too. Viewer discretion advised.
Happy 4th of July! I was a little taken back yesterday when I saw this was still going on.
Hundreds of military employees and contractors who may have bought child pornography online but haven't been prosecuted or even in some cases investigated. That's right, you heard me, child pornography. As many as 1,700 names, according to a U.S. Senator, on a list of 5,200 from an internet sting operation overlooked the first time around 4 years ago. The Pentagon porn story began in 2006. An Immigration and Customs Enforcement child pornography sting operation called Project Flicker produced payment records of about 5,200 people, many of whom provided Army or Fleet zip codes or military email addresses. Subsequently, the Pentagon's investigative branch, DCIS, began going through the ICE list to identify who actually was a DoD employee or a contractor. The investigation, however, only ran for 8 months and only cross-checked some 3,500 names for Pentagon ties, according to a senator. According to DCIS documents revealed in a Freedom of Information Act request, out of that 3,500, investigators uncovered 264 employees or contractors, including staffers for the Secretary of Defense and contractors at the NSA. 9 people had top security clearances, but only about 20% of those 264 people were completely investigated. Fewer still were prosecuted, and after about 8 months, the entire probe was halted. It left about 1,700 names totally unchecked, 1,700 alleged kiddie porn customers, an unknown number of whom may still work in some capacity for the Defense Department.
Wednesday, July 3rd, 2019. Lawmakers target Pentagon pedophiles with bipartisan child porn bill. From Zero Hedge. Bipartisan legislation introduced by Representatives Abigail Spanberger, Democrat of Virginia, and Mark Meadows, Republican of North Carolina, aimed to halt the use of Department of Defense, DoD, computer networks for downloading or distributing child porn. Why were they being used for that anyway? Hundreds of government employees were implicated as part of ICE's 2006 Operation Flicker, or Project Flicker, whatever you want to call it, which identified over 5,000 individuals who would use credit cards or PayPal to buy child porn or subscribe to websites that offered the material. Of those, ICE identified 264 Department of Defense employees or contractors who had purchased child pornography online. 9 of them had, quote, top secret sensitive compartmentalized information security clearance, while 76 of them held clearances of secret or higher. Here's the kicker. Of those 264 DoD suspects, just 52 were investigated by the Pentagon's Defense Criminal Investigation Service, DCIS, meaning the Bush administration willfully ignored over 200 suspected pedophiles working for the Defense Department. The new bill, the End Network Abuse Act, will require the Pentagon to enter into contracts with groups which will be involved in the effort, including law enforcement, social services, child protection services, and trauma-informed healthcare providers. It would also provide for additional training and technical expertise among military investigators, according to The Hill. The National Criminal Justice Training Center, one of the groups that has thrown its weight behind the bill, reported in 2018 that DoD's network was ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 nationwide networks on the amount of peer-to-peer child pornography sharing. 19th out of 3,000. Spanberger described the issues of child sexual exploitation and abuse as, quote, horrific crimes. Quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace, and one we must fight head-on, Spanberger said in a statement. Representative Meadows said that, quote, peer-to-peer trading of child pornography is an unacceptable practice, and federal agencies cannot allow their networks to become a platform for it. Seems like common sense to me. Senators Brian Schatz, Democrat of Hawaii, and Lisa Murkowski, Republican of Arkansas, have introduced similar legislation in the Senate. According to The Hill, quote, spokesperson for Spanberger told The Hill that while there are no set dates in either the House or Senate for marking up the bill, the sponsors are trying to pass it. Quote, both as individual bills and as amendments to other legislative packages. Aside from raising awareness, however, the bills don't appear to offer specific remedies to halt the child porn epidemic at the Pentagon. Why is there a child porn epidemic at the Pentagon? U.S. Representative Abigail Spanberger, proudly serving Virginia's 7th District. Press releases. Spanberger Meadows introduced Bipartisan N Network Abuse Act to help Defense Department crack down on child pornography. U.S. Representatives Abigail Spanberger and Mark Meadows led the introduction of bipartisan, bicameral legislation that would help the Department of Defense stop the use of its internet network to possess, procure, and produce child pornography. Why do they even need to do this? Why aren't these people working? What are they doing at work? Quote, child pornography is a shocking crime, and it's all more shocking to learn that our military's computer networks are used by abusers to share and even produce images that harm victims for years to come, said Teresa Huzar, Executive Director of National Children's Alliance. This all started in 2006. It's 2019. 13 years later, and they still haven't fixed it. You're supposed to be fucking working. Do your job.
Senator Grassley, you were told that 5,200 Defense Department employees had allegedly purchased child porn, and yet you're saying only 3,500 of those names were cross-checked by a defense investigator to see if they were really DoD personnel. That's mind-boggling. Why weren't all of them cross-checked?
Well, we don't have an answer to that question, but it's quite obvious that the other 1,700 should have been cross-checked, and that's one of the answers to my questions that I want answered, and the implication of our questions is they ought to be cross-checked. We ought to find out, because we're talking about not just general pornography here. We're talking about child pornography, and child pornography, taking that down, is a crime. And also, there's an added factor here, considering the fact that there's a lot of secured information, national security information, that the world shouldn't know, that a lot of times foreign operatives will use this sort of criminal activity to blackmail to get information. So there's a lot of things here that are involved because it's a Defense Department issue as opposed to any other department of government.
Right. I mean, sir, if your numbers are correct, 1,700 people out there who allegedly purchased child porn, we don't know if they were ever cross-checked or investigated, right?
That's true, and there's been some other names in the hundreds where there's the names have actually been given out that we don't know what's going to be done about them. Now, there's some reason to believe that it's a criminal act. It's been so far since it's happened that they could be stale. Maybe you can't have criminal prosecution, but we would be looking at administrative action to be taken against these people. And I want to know who they are and what administrative action's being taken.
Yeah, because what's even more startling is that of the 302 people confirmed as DoD personnel or contractors, only 70 of them were actually investigated. How is it possible that all of them weren't investigated?
Well, here's, I think, the thing that overrides everything you just asked, and that is we ask criminal investigators in the Division of Defense that does that, the extent to which supervisors of these people knew that this was going, and the criminal investigators couldn't even answer that question for us when we had a briefing from them.
So wait a minute, so you're saying we don't even know if the supervisors of these people were told that their employees may have downloaded child porn?
That's the question that my staff asked of the criminal investigators, and they could not answer the question whether or not supervisors had been informed of this.
Fucking stoned.
I got